All right. So in the last review session, I covered the drug, just the basic like capsules and tablet configuration. So like if you didn't see that because you weren't here, and I haven't posted it yet, just know that I'll have that video up later today, and then this one will be posted later today or tomorrow. And then I also started going through the liquid suspensions, and that's what I'm going to continue on with, because those are the ones that you're going to see the majority of on your test. And once you get a good system down with these, they tend to get answered pretty quickly. And so let me just pull up. Well, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and start up here with this one here. So I'm going to annotate. Should be able to draw. Okay. So the secret with these liquids is that they work very, very well when you're doing these oral suspension-based medications. Doing ordered over available, desired over have, that process works really, really well. And what you're going to do is when you're setting this up, a lot of it is just making sure you understand what the question's asking you. So it tells you that the order is 40 milliequivalents, that you have 20 milliequivalents per 15 ml available, and then they want to know how many ml to give per dose. And the other thing is, and make sure that you pay attention that on a paper test, it might ask you to circle the correct amount. On the Blackboard version, they're going to ask you to kind of drop a pointer on the cup. And so you just want to make sure you're practicing that in the practice test. And like I said, I'll show you the practice test from my end, and then that way you can see what types of questions that you're going to see, and then how to answer them, just in case you run into an issue where you're getting wrong answers, even though you're doing everything else correct. So when I'm solving for this type of question, I'm going to take my order over my available, and then I'm going to multiply by my quantity, which is 15 ml. Now, I mentioned this last time that quantity part of the doing ordered over have or desired over have, ordered or available, is that a lot of times students will forget to incorporate the quantity because they're used to it mostly being one, which it usually is when we're talking about tablets and capsules. But if it's liquid, you need to make sure you pay attention to what it is. So for this one, it's 15 ml. So the answer here, so 40 over 20 is 2 times 15 is 30 ml. You can also just plug that into your calculator. Your milliequivalents cancel out. You're left with ml. That's what you're looking for. And the next thing is just so like if we're on the Blackboard test, you're just going to drop a point at the 30 ml. And if it tells you to circle, they might mean just circle the dose. They might want you to draw a line across the dose. Just make sure you mark the cup as long as it's obvious. Okay. Believe it or not, this question is commonly missed because the student didn't mark the cup. Not because they did the math wrong. It was literally just came down to they forgot to mark the cup. So make sure you mark the cup. All right. Let me do another one here. Now, sometimes like, cause I have to erase this, cause if once I start moving, the writing goes with it. Okay. So because of that, I erase everything. And when I erase everything, it just know that on the replay, you can always go back and see, and pause the video, if you need to. I don't think you're gonna need to, but just in case. All right. We worked through those two. Actually, we didn't do this one. So the next one is, this question is, are you reading the directions. Okay. So this one looks very similar to what we did previously. There was another Dilantin question where you get the order, 250 milligrams. They're asking you to look at the label. The label shows 125 milligrams per 5 ml. And then, but the question is, typically you're used to seeing how many ml it is, but it clearly asks how many teaspoons will you give if it's labeled as shown. Now, this one is one that tends to get missed. Not because you chose or got the wrong answer, but because you're using the wrong units. Most students will answer this correctly, 10 milliliters, but it gets marked wrong because they want you to tell them that it's 2 teaspoons. So I'm going to show you 2 ways to kind of answer this. I'm going to show you the long way, and I'm going to show you the short way. The long way is I take my order over my available times my quantity. I get 10 ml. And then I'm going to convert milliliters to teaspoons. So 1 teaspoon is 5 ml. And that's where you get 2 teaspoons. The other thing is, since we know that 5 ml is 1 teaspoon, the other way of setting this up is just taking the 250 milligrams over the 125 milligrams. And then instead of saying times 5 ml, just do times 1 teaspoon. And then you'll get 2 teaspoons. So you have 2 ways that you can do this. Either way is correct, but sometimes you'll need some some practice doing it and setting it up. If this didn't trip you up, great. But I will say this is probably like in the top 10 of questions that 110 nursing students miss. And it is because of the teaspoon thing. Okay. All right. Just gonna clear all that. And we're gonna keep moving. Okay. We did that one. So some of these we already did. So they're on the previous review time. So I'm just trying to go through all these different questions, and at least you're seeing them. Let's go ahead and work through this. I'm going to go ahead and work through this mycostatin question. So in this, we have another oral-based med, but in this oral-based med, we have it's going to be an oral swish. So it means that this won't be swallowed. It'll just be swished around the mouth. So it's a nystatin. It looks like it's for like an antifungal, it's probably for thrush. And what we're seeing is the order, 150,000 units. It tells you, it does tell you to swallow it. So it says to swish and swallow, and then QID. So it just tells you 4 times per day. Now that's important only if they ask you how many milliliters or how many teaspoons or tablespoons or whatever they ask you, how many to give per day, but it clearly says they want to know how many ml per dose. So before I do any kind of setup or equations, I need to look at the label and find out what my available is. My available is 100,000 units per milliliter. Okay. Now, one of the things that you may start to kind of pick up on, if this is not something that you're used to looking at, the different types of like medication labels, is that they put their numbers kind of in different places depending on the company. So just pay attention to that, get used to seeing it, and train your eyes to kind of look for the things that you need in order to answer these questions. And typically what you need is some reference to the order, meaning like if it's in units, then the label should say something about units. If it's in milligrams, then your label should say something about milligrams. And then if it's a liquid suspension, look for that per ml. Sometimes you'll see it as per teaspoon, but usually it's just per ml. So again, doing the ordered over available, I'm going to take 150,000 units over my 100,000 units. And then I'm going to multiply by my quantity, which is 1. And we're going to see what we get. Now, I don't know about you, that's a lot of zeros to be plugging into my calculator. So as a strategy, what I typically do is I cancel out the same number of zeros. So like I can keep going, but we're just going to say 150 over 100. And then you're going to get an answer of 1.5 ml. If you don't like what I did with the crossing out of the zeros, then don't do it. Just plug that into your calculator and just double check your work. All right. All right. Let's see here. Here's another, this is what they consider kind of like a two-step problem, number 19. And the reason it's considered like a two-step problem is because you have a couple pieces of information. You have an order of 0.375 grams. It says every 6 hours. You have your stock is 125.5. So we'll put that grams. And then it says how many ml will you give, and also mark the cup. Okay. So when we see those pieces of information, then you need to make sure you're doing all the steps. The other thing that I think is helpful, if they ask you to mark the cup, you can almost guarantee that your answer is already listed on the cup. So we just need to find out what that is. So I mentioned this at the review I did yesterday, and I said like you can't do math with grams and milligrams. You have to convert one or the other. So you either need to convert 0.375 grams to milligrams or the 125 milligrams to grams. So it's really just up to you. So if you are already doing that and you have a particular way you're doing it, great. I typically just manipulate the order. And what I do is I convert the 0.375 grams to milligrams. And then if you're not sure like how we do this, you can either just move the decimal 3 to the right, or you take your 0.375 grams, that over 1, and then you can convert grams to milligrams because you know that 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. So that's how I knew the number would get bigger, if that's ever a sticking point for you. Once you have the 375 milligrams, now you can plug it into your ordered over available, desired over have, where you have 375 over 125. Don't forget your quantity. And you're going to get 15 ml. If we're on Blackboard, you're going to drop a point. You're going to circle the number, or sometimes they want you to draw a line across. There's a couple different ways to kind of answer. They just want to make sure you can mark the cup, or at least be able to read a cup, which I don't think many people have an issue. Like I said, the only time this typically gets marked wrong is because you just didn't do it. It usually isn't because of the math. Okay. All right. What else we got here? We did that one and that one. Okay. Let's do this Aldamet question. All right. So this says that the patient is ordered Aldamet 400 milligrams, and it says by mouth TID. Remember, that's 3 times a day. And it just wants to know how many ml to give per dose. So you don't need to worry about how many times in the day it's being administered. You just need to calculate the dosage. So I'm gonna again just take my order over my available times my quantity and see what we get. And so you can see here, I'm pulling this out. I know it's a poor copy. I think most of the questions that you'll see moving forward won't look this like worn out of a question there, so which is good. So but let me plug this into my calculator because this is one that I'm not gonna be able to do in my head. So I'm gonna take 400 times 5, which is 2,000, and divide by 250. I get an answer of 8 milliliters. So I'm going to ask for just a little bit of participation just to see if you are just, I just want to make sure you're grasping like how this all works. So I'm going to clear my drawings for this Aldamet question. And then I'm going to ask you to solve this, but instead of 400 milligrams, I want you to solve it for 1250 milligrams. So if the order was 1250 milligrams, how many milliliters would the patient receive per dose? And like I said, just type it in the chat. If you don't feel confident in your answer and you want to put it to me as a private as a private message, that's perfectly fine. And then I won't share the information.
Um, 25.
Good. Good. Yeah. Yep. So
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering where can I find this PDF practice set?
That's a good question. So let me show you. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna clear out of here. I'm gonna switch my share to Blackboard. So this is your let me just put this in student preview. So I'm on the 110 Blackboard. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So do you see where it says drug calc workshop?
Yes.
So you go there. And then after this kind of the introduction to the different things, where it says drug calc practice, click there. And then here's that hard copy of that practice set.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. There's also the online version is here. So you can click here and then you can open up and start doing the practice because this would be more in line with what you see on your test on for 110 because it's going to be an online Blackboard test. But the rest of them that you're taking for second, third, and fourth semester will be paper tests. And then if you lose it, this is also the link to my OneDrive folder where I have some additional practice problems it's in an archive folder. So there's some things that, that you just kind of take them as they are. But what's here is probably the most, or especially here is the most updated version. That's the one I recommend you follow. This, okay. Yeah, so getting back to this, and I saw yeah, and Emma, you got that right too. When it's 1250, so let me just pull up my annotation again. So when I mentioned that the order became 1250 milligrams over the 250 milligrams, and then again times the 5 ml, and then you got 25 ml, which is correct. That's what I got to. Now, does that make sense for this medication? Probably not. but I just it's just to practice doing the math. And as long as you're getting the same answers, then you're doing something right. Okay. All right, let's see what else we got here. There's these questions, and I have them both listed here. I'm gonna try and open up my screen a little bit more. That are what we call the TUBEX questions. And then what you're gonna do is it's kind of like a syringe. You're gonna mark the TUBEX. So they're one's a Demerol and one's heparin. So we're just going to follow this and do exactly what we've been doing. So like these are what we refer to as your parenteral medications. So anything that's considered injectable is parenteral, meaning it's going to go into the skin. You can see it says IM here, which means intramuscular. Here it says SC, which means subcutaneous, okay, which means it's going into that deepest layer of your integument. So, but not the muscle. So what we want to do is like, once you know that it's intramuscular or subcutaneous, you know you're looking for milliliters. Because if we're injecting the patient with a medication, it needs to be in a liquid form. Now, sometimes, like with insulin, it'll be the liquid will be measured in units, and then you don't need to convert anything. You just leave it alone. We'll talk about that when we get to that type of question. But when we have mLs, or when we have anything else, typically we're going to convert it to milliliters based off of what the label shows. So this is saying that we're supposed to give 75 milligrams, and it comes available in these pre-filled syringes, and it has a 50 milligram per milliliter dosage strength. And so we just need to calculate how many milliliters, and then we need to put a mark on the TUBEX. So I'm going to take my 75 milligrams over my 50 milligrams times 1 ml, and then 75 over 50 I get 1.5 ml. So then I just look to see. Now you'll notice that I don't have 1.5, but I have 1.5 ml. So I'm going to put a mark right here. And I never know like exactly how they want you to kind of show it. Just want to. But usually I will add like a little bit of like an arrow. I'm trying not to draw that extra, sorry. Just trying to draw arrow. There we go. So that way you know it's right at that 1.5 mil. Now the other thing to pay attention to is how these are kind of separated. So sometimes they're going to be by like 0.2 milliliter differences. This looks like it's 1, and the way to kind of confirm it, it's like it's 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, 2. And so a lot of times it's good to just kind of review these to make sure, because some syringes are going to be measured in twos, meaning like it's every 2 units or every 2 ml. I think I have an example of that later on, in that way you can kind of see it. Go ahead and try this one, number 24, and let me know what you get for your ml, and then I'll mark the syringe. Okay, yeah, that's great. You got 0.4 ml. Don't forget your units whenever you give answers, okay? But just for practice. But yes, 0.4. And so you want to make sure you're paying attention to the numbers here. So before I mark here, which is what it is supposed to be, I'm just going to make sure. So this is 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1. So we know that they're in 0.1 milliliter increments. So my 0.4 ml going to be right here, right on this line. So 0.4 ml. So just make sure you're marking that line there. Now I know you'll be writing in pen or pencil. If we're talking about on a if you're marking like on the test, a lot of times they'll have you just drop a point. And so just make sure you drop your point usually somewhere in like the middle of the tube X on the line that you want. And just double check that your point's where you want it to be. Double check your math and then double check your points. So all right, good job. Like I said, a lot of this stuff, if you're thinking this looks pretty straightforward and easy, or at least you're like picking up on it and you're getting a little bit like optimistic, but cautiously optimistic, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. This is not supposed to be difficult. It is supposed to be a little bit challenging and something you have to know. And like I said, usually the mistakes that are made are just come down to like I said, silly mistakes that once you hear me say this, you at least have some examples, or at least know what different people miss. Yes, you will have access to a calculator on the test. You get, they're going to provide you with a basic 10 key calculator and some scrap paper. They may even provide you with pencils, and then you're going to sit down like in the lab next to a computer, and you're going to take this 25 question test, and you get an hour to complete it. But yeah, you get a calculator to do that. So all right, so like I said, I want to keep these like kind of just short and sweet. So we're at our time for today. I will be back in at CCAC in KLI 402 tomorrow at 4:30. So you're welcome to come in live, or you can just join in via Zoom. And if you can't join in via Zoom, just know that these will be posted on the YouTube page, so you can have access to them. And as always, if you have any questions between now and then, or can't attend a review but would like to ask some questions, just email me, and I will make sure I get your questions answered. And I will see some of you next review.
What
Which room again
time?
is the next review?
It's Thursday at 4:30. So, and all those times are posted on Blackboard. So just double check those.
Which room? I'm sorry. Which room
Oh,
though?
KLI 402.
Were you in there today? Or
No, I'm not. I'm only on campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
okay, because I came to campus thinking it was going to be also on KLI, and that I was like confused. I was like, wait, did he not? Is he not tutoring today?
Yes,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I apologize. Yeah, I'm only there on Tuesday mornings, the 11 o'clock reviews, and Thursdays at 4:30 are the only times I'm on campus in person. Like right now I'm at my office, and I wouldn't have you come here. So
Fair. Thank you.
yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean that to be confusion. I should add like a note. Because I'll be honest with you, most people are not coming in live. Like no one came yesterday. And then but I know that two students came on Thursday. So but yeah, I apologize about that confusion. That's on me. I apologize. All right. Okay. Well, like I said, if you have any questions, email me, and I will see you at the next review.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.